hang on. I know that you think the dude is of substantial mental fortitude, but there's no reason for you to test that. Surely, as Red Bull, your job is to alleviate all the stress and pressure with a view to allow that dude to do his best in the car. And it feels like they've done nothing, if not test him. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shakedown podcast. With me as always, my brethren, my colleagues, my co-host, the one that they call Sir Baxty and the one that they call the A-side Shezino. How are we doing, chaps? It doesn't matter how you are doing because there are very many F1 centric threads at which we need to pull. Liam Lawson, Sir Baxty, did Red Bull make the right call, sir?
I mean, based on the results, yes, but the sample size of those results is tiny, and so therefore it flips it towards no, they did not make the right decision because how can you accurately make a decision on a driver's suitability based off a day and a half worth of testing, which was compromised with technical issues, two races at tracks that he doesn't know as well as others. Not really an excuse for a racing driver, but it's you got to factor it in a little bit. And then you're going to a track that he knows better than most of the guys there because he's raced on it in Super Formula and has raced it more times than most. So why not give him the chance to prove himself there? And give him the chance to prove himself and show that what he's made of. I think he was picked for his mental fortitude. Well, this is the perfect test of his mental fortitude. To how can you recover after two incredibly stinky weekends? But instead, they've just gone, nah, see you later, mate. And I think the 10 million or so they got from Honda's probably helped as well. But I don't think they've made the right decision. It's once again Red Bull playing fast and loose with the careers of young drivers, and for me, that's not on. They shouldn't be doing that.
So we'll see your 10 million, Sir Baxter, and I'll raise you 10. It's 20 million now that Honda are sponsoring the one that they call Tsunoda-san. But to your question, why not let Liam Lawson crack on? Well, there's 8/10 as far as reasons why you should not let him crack on. That being the difference between Maximilian Verstappen and Liam Lawson over the course of the past two races. That's not on Baxter. I understand that there's empathy and that Red Bull need to conduct themselves in a way that's fit for purpose. They're an F1 team, market leading energy drinks company, etc., etc. But sometimes performance has to matter, doesn't it? And if Checo Perez was circa 8/10 and they wanted better than him with a view to defend, no, regain a World Constructors' Championship, then surely the modus operandi as far as Liam Lawson, Baxley, was to fail fast, no?
No, like two races is no time at all. I mean, it's just it's ludicrous. Like if we'd got to the summer break and it's he's still doing this and it's like right, the constructors is a wash and Max is in there for the drivers, but we might need to give him a little bit more support, then okay, yeah, sure, chuck Sonoda in there. But you've got a much bigger sample size with which to make that judgment. With Checo, we had 4 years worth of sample size to be like, this guy is not cut out for this drive. And you've gone from that, where they clung onto him probably for too long, to then ditching somebody within two races. It's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous, and it shows a complete failure of leadership from people that have known better and should know better.
Oof, very well said, sir. Go on and talk to me about this, Shazino. Tell me why, what's the justification, per what Sir Baxy's just said, why should Red Bull not have failed fast with a dude as young as he is, as hungry as a lion as he is, with a dude that's ostensibly failed, not necessarily due to, it's not how slow Liam Lawson's been. It's the extent of the slowness, right? It's not that he's been slow. It's how slow he's been. Shez, why shouldn't Red Bull have failed fast, therefore?
I mean, they have failed fast, and I was just counting down on my fingers how long it would take before I heard you say fail and fast together in the same sentence. It's like your favorite thing. Love it. This is why they wouldn't let you be the England manager, man. You just sat the whole lot in like 5 seconds. Um,
True.
true, true.
Harry Kane's first one out.
Oh, 1,000% Sir Baxty. You wouldn't even get a foot in the door. Let's not do it. Shez, talk to me, chap. That'll throw us well off kilter. Talk to me, chap.
Yeah, look, I'm I don't think the mistake was that they have that they've demoted him after 2 races. The mistake was putting him in the car in the first place. Like, what job interview do you go to where you've got one candidate that has been in the training job for 30 seconds and hasn't shown that they're actually up to the big job, and the other guy has been in there for 4 years and has outperformed the guy that you're considering him against? Like, in what job interview do you put candidate A into the hot seat? That it just doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why actually the spotlight shouldn't really be on Liam Lawson. It's unfortunate that it's him, but it could have been anybody, because I think they would have made the same mistake with any driver that went up against Tsunoda. I mean, I'm half surprised that they haven't decided to swap Liam with Isaac Hadjar. But but ultimately the spotlight shouldn't be on him. It needs to go back to the management. And unfortunately, at Red Bull, that management is twofold: the two-headed dragon, the dysfunctional marriage that is Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. Yeah, it's their problem. And mate, to be honest, like, I'm happy that they've got a ridiculous mess that they need to sort out, and I'm glad they look silly for it.
Oof. Oof. Say it how you mean it, chap. I think the problem is, again, with it, I don't think it's the what's. I completely agree with them getting rid of Liam Lawson. As harsh as it is, this is F1, chaps, right? Ron Dennis, Piranha Tank setting, survival of the fittest, etc., etc. But the way that they've gone about their behaviour, you guys will have seen the Instagram picture that they had of Liam Lawson in black and white, as if he had not long deceased. You would have seen Christian Horner using the same verbiage, talking about you can't run a race one-legged. Exactly the same verbiage that he used when he was about to wield the sword of Damocles on Checo Perez's head. It's like, hang on. I know that you think the dude is of substantial mental fortitude, but there's no reason for you to test that. Surely as Red Bull, your job is to alleviate all the stress and pressure with a view to allow that dude to do his best in the car. And it feels like they've done nothing if not test him. And then you get the bloody verbiage of Christian Horner after the fact, talking about, quote, we have a duty of care to protect and develop Liam. What? Is he having a laugh? I saw Will Buxton come out and destroy me. Says, Red Bull's talk of their duty of care is laughable. Case in point, you either believe in the driver you've signed and give them support, or you don't. So Baxty, to that, you react how, sir?
Can you smell that, Cam? It's the overwhelming smell of bullshit. Get your beep counter out. Like, duty of care. So why'd you sack him after 2 races, when actually what you're doing is admitting that you made the wrong decision? But I can see why they made the decision that they did. It's like, well, okay, Liam clearly has the higher ceiling here in comparison to Yuki, but there's a difference. Liam is 11 races into one of the hardest, if not the hardest, series to race in from a technical standing and an understanding of the machinery. Yuki's been in it for 4 years. Liam might be the man of tomorrow, but Yuki was the man of right now. And they decided just to chuck in the man of tomorrow and say, off you go basically be Max. And it's like, well, you can't be Max because you're not Max. Max is Max. He's a unique all-timer who could handle that pressure at such a young age and could just go and do it. You know, okay, inherited a win in his first race because the Mercedes decided to get together, but not that. But he handled the pressure straight away. You know, Lawson clearly couldn't handle that pressure straight away in a car that is clearly very difficult to drive. You know, where the performance window is so narrow that one guy can drive it. I mean, come on now, that's not exactly, you know, good car design, and you know, it kind of puts pay to all of what was being said last year. You know, oh, Pierre Wache is the real genius here. Is he? Hell,
Oh,
Adrian Newey knew exactly what was going to happen, and he bailed straight out of there. So I completely agree with what Buxton's saying, because you got your young drivers, and yet you're not giving them the chance to thrive, because
oh.
you're getting rid of him after 2 races. Like, it's just ridiculous. You know,
Uh,
there's no duty of care there. It's you're trying to save your own ass because you know that if you get this wrong again, your job is probably on the line, because there's only so much tolerance that people are going to have for a failing team principal. So, oh, great, Max has won the drivers, but what's that going to do for the finances of the team? Because we're not doing well in the Constructors' Championship.
Speaking of the sword of Damocles, Christian Horner. Shazino, talk to me about this Max Verstappen car, because I've heard a lot of talk over the past week or so about the RB21, and that there's only one driver in F1 as at March 2025 can drive it, and that chap has a name. His name is Maximilian Verstappen. What is it specifically, Shez, per your infinite F1 wisdom, that makes the RB21 so difficult to drive? And what is it about Max Verstappen, conversely, that makes him the only one you can drive it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my genius, is it? Like there's been an entire podcast on this from a chap called Alex Albon who um explained it very, very clearly that this car has a very narrow window, as you said. There's a particular way that it wants to be driven, and there's a particular setup that makes it respond. And if Max gets in the car and drives it that way, he can take it. In fact, he thrives on it. He wants more and more and more front end. And in this formula, actually, that's quite good. The wind tunnel will tell you the more rear end you lose, as in the more you allow the rear end to move around, the quicker it will rotate, and the more front downforce, more bite you can get into the slower corner. So it's a virtuous cycle from a wind tunnel theoretical point of view. All you need is a driver that can actually do that, and most teams won't have that driver, so they peg back a little bit what their car can do, and make it a bit more drivable, give it a bit more give. But Red Bull have found that they've got a driver that can drive to that theoretical limit and keep it there and get that pace out of it. Problem is, nobody else can do that. And that poor old driver is now getting to the point where they've made it so extreme. Even now, when they've tried to make it more drivable, it's still too extreme. He's saying, "Look, this isn't working even for me." And it was very interesting to hear what he had to say after the Chinese Grand Prix, and when the rumours started to come out about Liam Lawson losing his seat. That actually, I don't think this is right. If you stuck Liam in the Racing Bull, he'd be miles ahead. It's not about Liam, it's about the car. And the fact that he then liked this Instagram post from his mate Guido van der Garde today, absolving Liam Lawson of the blame for his own demotion, I think that speaks volumes. Red Bull as an organization are massively on the decline. I cannot see a bright light anywhere in that organization from a management point of view, an operational point of view, or even from a technical point of view, because the team's been gutted. The only thing they have now is Max, and he isn't enjoying himself right now. So if he goes, and the car regresses to the mean that the second driver can attain, they're not even going to be a midfield team. They're going to be out down the back of the grid.
100%, chap. If he goes, they are toast. Chaos settings. As I just seen Liam Lawson peek his head above water. He's put something out on Instagram, and I'm going to quote, "Being a Red Bull racing driver has been my dream since I was a kid. It's what I've worked towards my whole life. It's tough, but I'm grateful for everything that's brought me to this point. To every one of you who stood by me, thank you for all the support. It means the world. Thank you at Visa Cash App RB for the warm welcome. I'm excited and ready to go to work at one of my fave places." You know what I keep thinking about? In fact, before I get to that, Shez, I want to talk about this. I want to be super specific around this Max Verstappen piece, because I keep trying to wrap my head around why this dude can drive this car. What is it very specifically about Max Verstappen that enables him to drive this car with this very unique raging bull handling dynamic. And as much as I've studied and tried to listen to podcasters and try to like due diligence, like it sounds like it's a couple different things. You remember Chris Harris on his podcast the other day talked about it's not what these drivers can do when the car's in its happy place. It's what they do when it's not in its happy place, when it's lost traction. And something about Max Verstappen, I don't know if it's his 10,000 hours worth of track time in the wet. Maybe it's the DNA and the internal gyroscope nurturing it. I don't know what it is, Shez, but there is something about this dude, especially when you see him in the pit stop. You saw him going down the pit lane in Australia, like sideways as if this were Gymkhana, but super comfortable in it all the while. I think he's twofold. I think before like the car breaks traction, I think he's super comfortable, but I think he's happy on the limit because he knows if the car breaks traction, he's like 4 chess moves ahead of the car, almost reacting to it. Shez, am I talking nonsense here, mate?
No, I don't think you are, but it's a feeling, isn't it? Like other drivers will feel how loose the rear end, even if it isn't about to break away, and they'll just get spooked by it. And when they get spooked, they come up back off that limit, or they keep going, and the rear end does snap, and they either have a big moment or they end up in the wall. One of those two things happens. Whereas Max seems to be able to judge where that limit is much better than everybody else. But I think that comes from the way that he drives the car. There's a lot more natural cushion that protects him from that snap in the way that he drives. The way he's done it, like from the word go, is that it's not like a Lewis kind of driving style where he puts everything into a late braking, early turning kind of move, where he puts huge amounts of pressure on the front axle and the rear just has to live with it. He's much more sort of early in the corner. He'll turn the car, wait for the rear end to grip up a little bit, and then bang. Then he'll put the big movement in and really let rip. And that allows the car to rotate early, gets his steering wheel straight early, and lets him just bang it out the corner. But that's a very classical way of doing it. It's not unique to him in the annals of Formula One, right? Like Michael Schumacher drove in a very similar way. If you ever get a chance to read John Barnard's book, he said it spooked him. He said he hated the way that Michael Schumacher drove the car, even though when he tested the 95 Ferrari that had won but one race in the hands of Jean Alesi that season, he said I could probably have won the championship in this car because he was driving it in a way that was alien to its natural inhabitants.
Shez, super quickly though, chap. I was having to think about this the other day, and the stark contrast between Lawson and Max's driving style. And when you look at the on board of Lawson, right, he's not fighting's not the right word, but Max doesn't even look like he's driving an F1 car, right? He's so slow and steady on the bloody steering. It's almost like he's playing 3 instruments in the accelerator, brake and steering inputs all at the same time. It's like he's conducting an orchestra. No, Baxty, like, do you know what I mean? Like he's very almost mechanically sympathetic.
I think that's where the magic is, though, Cameron. Like, it's like imagine it's not like in your road car, right? In your road car, you don't have any downforce particularly. So when you brake, it's just the mechanical grip of the tires biting into the road. That's all you have to deal with. Whereas when you're braking in a Formula One car, this is where the sensitivity comes. It's actually what Daniel Ricciardo, I thought, did really well when he was at his peak and in his overtaking best, is that it's not just the braking force that you have to adjust for. It's the fact that you've had all this downforce pushing the car down at speed. As soon as you take that speed off, the downforce comes off as well. So you're having to. That's what Max is doing so brilliantly in his car, is that he's able to balance the mechanical braking force with the fact that the downforce is bleeding off exponentially. So he's losing grip as he's entering the corner. He's able to compensate for that. That's what, like, I don't know what he's doing on the pedals, but he must, I don't know if he's dancing around on them or, you know, very gradually just coming off the brake pedal. That's sensitivity to know when the right time is to turn it, when the right time is to come off the brake completely, when the right time is to straighten up the steering wheel and then go. But he makes it all look like it's one movement because that's the thing he's honed since he was 4 years old and got into a kart. And that's what I mean by deliberate practice. This technique is something that he has been practicing. Just go and read Mark Hughes's book about this, Unstoppable, I think it's called. That's what he talks about. Is Max honing this driving technique? It's very calm. It's lovely to watch, but he's been honing that since he was 4. But to expect other drivers to be able to do that when they've had 2 races in that car to try and get to the bottom of that, it's
Chaos.
impossible. It's impossible.
A mission impossible, some might say. So Baxty, segueing very nicely on from that, is Tsunoda-san the guy, do you think, to tame this bull of an RB21?
I think he's better suited than Liam, certainly. Whether he's the guy to do it, I mean, I think he's...
Why Baxty do you think he's better suited than Liam?
Just because of his experience. And if you read the reports from the postseason test, apparently the engineers were very happy with him. He gave excellent feedback. I can't help but feel that perhaps Liam's feedback may have contributed towards his downfall. That perhaps it was, his inability to, I don't know, diagnose the problems with the car properly that may have led to that downfall. And maybe they've gone, we need better feedback, which was also Pierre Gasly's problem as well in 2019. So I don't know. Like, the thing is, the bar for Tsunoda is so low. If he gets out of Q1, everyone's happy.
I'm not. I didn't read the post Abu Dhabi test in the same way. Like it was in Yuki's. It was to Yuki's advantage to talk up his own comfort in the car because he was basically auditioning for that.
Of course,
for that
but that's
seat.
not.
So he's absolutely going to be like, yes, I'm very comfortable in this car.
That's
I
why
think
I'm
I've
not
got the
listening to
same-
that too much. Like I'm not taking his quotes. I'm taking the quotes from insiders
Yeah.
that are saying that actually we were really happy with him and the work that he did during that test, and maybe Red Bull thought, okay, if we're struggling with Liam here, we've got a
Yeah.
guy that the engineers will be happy with, as much as Christian and Helmut will be
I think
moderately pleased with him. Yeah.
I think with Yuki though, it's a zero-sum game, right? In that he's had 4 years in that racing ball. Nobody else has been. Is it 4 years? 5 years, isn't it? Nobody else.
4 seasons and 2 races.
Yeah, right. So nobody else has been in that junior team for as long as he has. To go into that seat again next year would be uncharted territory for racing balls. So, in all likelihood, he was going to go anyway. So from his point of view and from Red Bull's point of view, this is a win-win situation. If he does well at Red Bull, at the senior team, brilliant. You've made the right call, and you've got someone that can sit in that seat for a little while and not shame the technical team, which is really who you need to protect. But if he doesn't do very well, you were going to get rid of him anyway. So what does it matter?
No, I disagree vehemently with that, Shez. At this point, I said the other day on a stream that your ability to lead a good life, right, much less have success in Formula One, will always be a function of your sound decision making in long form. Now, if Christian Horner wants to keep himself a job and continue to pay off a mortgage if he's still got one, then he's not a cat, Shez. He doth not have 9 lives, and he's already used about 110 gazillion of them. Like, what are we doing? Keeping Checo Perez on for much longer than he should have at the altar of Carlos Slim's sponsorship Do you know what I mean? Misconduct allegation gate, appointing Liam Lawson, again, another mea culpa. Yuki Tsunoda, I would argue, chaps, probably isn't the guy either.
100%.
He's not the guy. I
Yeah.
don't think he's the guy to go into that team, and definitely not under these circumstances. Going into his home Grand Prix, all the pressure, all this time, the bandwidth with sponsors. They've already got the bloody merch ready to go with the kanji on. It's chaos. Tsunoda-san, who we know Yuki to be, is not that guy. We've all heard him over the radio. When Marco said in the first instance that I'm not sure Yuki's stable enough of mind, again, probably not perfect terminology there, but I don't think he was a gazillion miles away from the truth. And that's the dude that you're going to send in there now alongside Max Verstappen in a car that's running P6, P7. Yeah, of course. Good shout, Christian. Let me know how that goes in a couple months, mate. If you're not subbing Arvid Lindblad or somebody else in that car.
Cameron, are you saying that actually the mistake was much earlier, and the driver that should have been in that car is currently ensconced at Grove in a Williams?
Mate, well, you know what? On recent form, I'm not even sure if Carlos Sainz is the guy, either. Like, because he looks.
It would have been a more sensible decision.
Oh, of course, yeah. For, if processes over outcomes,
that.
yeah, 1,000%. If processes over outcomes, but again, this is it's almost like a Mission Impossible Rubik's cube for which Christian Horner needs to solve. Right? How do you put? So principle among your priorities is keeping Max Verstappen in that car, right? Because if he goes, all of a sudden you've got an RB21 that can only be driven by the guy who's just left your team. So at Houston, we have a problem. To keep him, what you don't want to do is put Carlos Sainz in and give Max and Team Verstappen PTSD about Toro Rosso 2015 when Franz Tost had chaos on his hands because Helmut Marko was telling Max Verstappen's team, his pit crew, to operate in a way that was independent. Like, oh, it's chaos. And you got Sainz Senior, and it's just, you don't need that.
You know that now, though, don't you? You know that, like, Sainz will come into the team knowing that that's what the game is.
Yeah, but that's why you can't. I don't think you can. I just don't.
He wasn't saying no, was he?
No,
Sainz wanted the drive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sainz desperately wanted it.
And he knew what the deal was. It's not like he's going into it going, I'm going to win the world championship. Yeah, he might have, but
if we're talking lines of best fit, then of course Carlos Sainz was the pick to click. But I think there would have been a downstream effect. I think Max is 1 foot out the door already, chaps.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I think he's one foot and one hand and one head out.
Mate, I think he's pretty much gone now. And if you put Sainz in there, what do you reckon, Baxty? You think he'll stay?
I think he'll stay at least until next year.
Wow.
Because when he won the first championship, everything else aside, he was like, I love this team. I want to be here for the rest of my career. And I think that he will want to see what that Ford engine project does. Then, if he's not winning a championship next year, he goes, and he probably goes to Aston Martin. I don't think Mercedes is going to happen. But I think even if he doesn't win the championship this year, it's so hard to know where to put your backside in. You could bet on Mercedes. That's a good bet to make. Mercedes probably aren't going to take you at this stage, given what Toto said today. And then you could go to Aston Martin, but they have no real desire to get rid of Fernando Alonso at this moment in time.
I think they would, though.
I think
when push comes to shove, probably.
Yeah,
but
I think they would. And basically, I think the hole in that line of argument, right, is that when you're thinking about 2026, there has to be some level of potential, right? What is the potential that Red Bull have got in their favour? They've not got a technical team furnished with Adrian Newey or Rob Marshall. They don't have an operations team that still has Jonathan Wheatley, although they'll argue they didn't need him anyway. They're going out on a limb, creating their own power unit because Honda decided to go, and when Honda came back, they went to a different team. So they've got probably the least likely to succeed power unit powering them as well. I cannot see what the positives are of staying at that team into 2026. Only downsides.
I agree. I do agree. I just feel like Max He will want to give them at least one crack at it at the moment. A lot can change between now and probably the summer when any deal is likely to happen. Um, but it's one of those where I think we just have to wait and see. Because if he's fighting for a championship, he will want to focus on that and maybe not what's the right way, focus on the future, unless of course Aston Martin come in with a blank check and say, right, your figure in, son. You know,
That's
but
what Lawrence that's his
That's
MO,
what
isn't it?
that's
well, yeah.
kind of.
But it's interesting what you're saying about drivers and Carlos Sainz. I read a report, I think it was from the official F1 website, that they were tapping up a driver to come over the winter, and his name was Alex Albon. Apparently, there were talks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Albon was like, "No, I'm not going back. That's not an issue for me." But they wanted Alex to go back.
Yeah. Albon would have been perfect. I'm not gonna lie, that because
The Albon of now, yes.
Yeah. But that's the problem with the driver program, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just
they're just chucking them in too young because Max works, so therefore everybody should work. And Seb worked, so everybody. But I mean, Seb had what, a season and a half at Toro Rosso before he stepped up to the main team. Max had a season and 4 races. They're not giving these kids time. Like Gasly had a season and 4 races. Albon was a rookie when he went in. That's why they had to go to Checo, because they didn't have anybody else ready to go. And I think they were hoping that Yuki would come good slightly quicker, but then he didn't. And now they've kind of been forced to put Yuki in the car because the other guy they put in just isn't ready. So, mate, yeah, it's a mess of a situation that they've got themselves into.
It is chaos. With a view not to bury the lead, though, Baxter, you've gone off on a cheeky soliloquy about why Max Verstappen will stay in that car. Allow me to counter, sir, as we round third base. I feel like at this stage, this is like my specialist subject on Mastermind. Max Verstappen is nothing. If I know anything about that chap, he's nothing if not a truth sayer. 3 things he said: that he needs to stay in that car through to 2028 when his contract is due to expire. The first being a car capable of winning the championship. That seems like it's gonzo straight away, 2 races deep. The second is a semblance of harmony. Oh, the humanity, where's that gonzo Casper the Ghost settings? The third is the people at that team capable of building a car and winning a championship. Rob Marshall gone, Adrian Newey gone, Jonathan Wheatley gone. So who else is there? Pierre Vacher, are you having a laugh? Enrico Balbo, what are we talking about, mate? There is no one there. So the 3 things that Max Verstappen said, press and media last year, to them, that he would need to stay at that team through to 2028. They are gonzo. Now today you have him liking tweets that are speaking out ostensibly against his team, Red Bull, the team that he said once upon a time was his family. Chap, I think we are infinitely closer to Max Verstappen leaving Red Bull as at the 27th of the 3rd, 2025 than we've been over the past couple of years. I feel like he's out the door already. Mentally checked out. Because why, Baxty? Because he's not there for a long time. He's there only for a good time.
He wants to win championships.
To win races only, chap. And he can see in that car, under these current circumstances, within these parameters, that the chances of him doing that currently stand at 0.
Spain will be important. Once this technical directive comes in, if he's competitive...
It's a sticking plaster.
But yeah, as I said, he's not staying to 28. That's not happening. It's a matter of whether he stays to next year or not.
Yeah, fair. And also, the more that I read about that Ford powertrain, I mean, even Max Verstappen's paranoid, looking glibly over at the boys and girls from Brackley and Brixworth, who it sounds like are going to build themselves a bloody, like a... Do you know what I mean? A Mustang of a power unit. Like I just don't know. Anyway, chaps, been a pleasure as always. That on your far right of your screen has been the one that they call Shazino, aka the A side of Tired GP podcast. Go and check that out. In the middle of your screen, you have Sir Baxty of Baxty BF1, and Shifting Happens. Go and check out both of those pods. infinitely greater than the one that you're watching. I've been Cameron F1 or Cameron CC, I cannot remember which. Between now and next time, if you're watching on the YouTubes, like, comment and share. If you're listening on your favourite podcasting platform, be sure to smash the like, 5 stars. Between now and next time, remember to look but never stare.